I'm sure that this just the totality of the environment and atmosphere over time will reflect what's going on. But I ended the last video leading into, and this is why it took so long for me to record this. It's been 10 days, and it's because this is one of the more important topics, and I didn't want to just skim past it. And I'm also in a season where this is really heavy on me because I know that I hold this type of position in my life and really my ecosystems. And I honestly lose faith in myself ain't the word, but it's I lose the I lose confidence in how I approach things because of this freaking balance that I have to find. I haven't found it. I don't even I'm not even close, but I'm never gonna bend, like to something that I know is not right. And sometimes that can come off really, it can be really hard for people to grasp the polarities of standing on business and being about what you speak about, but also being willing to pivot, being willing to learn, being open minded. There's a lot that I'm open minded about, but a lot that's going on right now, I'm not open minded about. There's a lot of stuff. I'm not gonna make this episode about this, but there's a lot of crazy stuff happening right now. And I've told y'all, I can't say y'all, but I've told everybody, I've said it for 10 plus years that because y'all are not paying attention to what we need to do as a culture, as a community, we're going to see these cycles repeat and repeat and get worse. Because I've told people, there's some really smart people who I've said this to, and I only really say this to people who I believe are really intelligent because it takes a certain understanding of knowing you don't know everything, but you could know a lot to understand to be willing to accept this, and that is that we're in this like it's a paradigm shift, conscious, constant paradigm shifts where hopefully they crash, but we start here, and then it's like the people on this side didn't like what was going on over here at this level, so it swings to here. And then because of the swing itself naturally, the people on the other side, they didn't actually care about results. They just wanted things to keep swinging their way. So now they go and they fight against this right here where it's the equal side of the paradigm. And then it swings and it goes higher. It's not one of those paradigm or it's not a where the thing just stays even. No. Every time it shifts, we shift culturally to a new extreme. So right now we're like right here. And after this election, the next election in the US, we're going to be way up here, probably. Hopefully, we can get out of this whole shiftiness soon, but nonetheless, so on a day-to-day basis, I'm pissed off. I'm very frustrated with what's going on. So, that being said, what it means to be someone's yes, you know, people tell me stories a lot of times about moments that we had together, instances, very, very small moments that play a large part in their lives, right? And as who I am, the instances that I'm involved in tend to be instances of motivation, of trying to help somebody overcome something, of pushing past a barrier that may have been built by your ecosystem or by you mentally. Maybe it's even something that, you physically can't comprehend to complete. And I've had a lot of people that have come to me or spoken about me from the stance of, man, you have no idea the change that you helped me make and how far it carried me. And so when it comes to life, business, and faith, you never know the impact you're going to have. You never know. You might just be one instance in a long chain. You're just one link in that chain that if that link isn't completed, that person can't be brought to God through a conversation or a random moment, or that person can't realize that they can uh for better or worse, complete the task and grow in their confidence of their abilities because you didn't act as you and you didn't close that link to that chain, and so the rest of it fell apart. So it's kind of like a butterfly effect, right? Bear, bear, no, stop. It's a butterfly effect. Bear boy, go, go, go. Bear, out, out, out. Let's go, out. Go, 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 go. No, go out the room. Go, get back, get back. Go, 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 out. Go, go, go. Thank you. It's a butterfly effect, and you play a larger part than you think in somebody's continuation of chasing the limitless potential. Until you realize that potential is limitless, it's only capped by your capacity to comprehend that it's limitless and comprehend that the work that might need to be put in is extreme. Sometimes that's internal, sometimes that's external, sometimes that's teaching, sometimes that's learning. Sometimes it's just keeping your freaking mouth shut. Like right now, there are many. I can't wait to look back on this a year from now. There are many things that I'm a part of right now where I just keep my mouth shut. I say many. There's a few. There's even relationships, family that I'm around. I just keep my mouth shut. I just don't, I'm not interested in debating about things that don't matter. Like, I'm really not. Because there's a lot that matters right now that people are willing to bypass the fact that they could be somebody's yes to a better life if all they did was confront some of the things going on. And I'm a confrontational person. I believe in confrontation. And I believe that confrontation isn't always bad. Like confrontation is love. I'm willing to address the situation at hand because I care for both of our results of this experience. Whereas some people would be like, confrontation, that's kind of rude. You shouldn't have brought that up that way. Yo, man, do y'all realize how easy it is to fall into a negative foundation? Like, do you realize how quickly your day-to-day foundation can become that of a negative mindset? And now everything that comes your way, God could be trying to put many of things in your hands, but because your mind isn't where it needs to be, it's not open to the vast opportunity, to the limitless possibilities. You're shunning everything that's meant for you. And being someone's yes is just being an extension of those opportunities. You never know which chain on the link you are. You could have been the first chain or the last chain, but you got to do your part. You have a role to play, and it is not, it bears weight. The role you play, it bears real weight. And the longer you go without accepting and being accountable for the weight that you hold in many others' lives, the longer you're going to walk without fulfillment. Tony Robbins was talking to Alex Hormozy, both guys that I have tremendous respect for. Um, and he told him that there's a science to achievement, but fulfillment is an art. It is a true art form to find fulfillment in this life. And you know what's kind of funny? As I look at the visual of this podcast recording, this episode, and I look at this, right? Because y'all have no idea what's going on outside of this frame in my life. But as I see this and I just kind of visualize the transition, like y'all can't even really see all my plants, all the little video games I got, the Monopoly Empire that I got right there. I mean, there's a lot here that says something. And as I see it and I'm envisioning the progress, the progression even of just what this looks like, how it feels for myself, for the viewer. There are a lot of people who played a part in me getting right here. There are people who I no longer want anything to do with that played a part in me getting right here. There are people who I love dearly and I miss. For example, my man Gabe. Gabe Myers was really the dude that brought me into podcasting on ESPN. He showed me, granted, him and Stephen Bijou. Stephen and I have no kind of communication anymore. For better or worse, we fell apart. Gabe, that's my brother from another mother for life. Solid, solid cat, solid cat. We had no idea really what we had to offer each other, but Gabe stood by me through some of my more off the wall years, man. Like Gabe is a solid freaking dude. And Gabe has no idea how many times I think of him while entering these podcast zones and how many times I've thought of him and how he would advise me to speak and think in different podcasts and what that's going to eventually lead to. And Gabe being a faith driven man, I've always looked up to Gabe. I've always looked up to Gabe. Gabe is a solid dude, man. Gabe is a solid, solid dude. And I just want to give him his flowers on this episode because Gabe was my yes to a lot of things back in the 2016 to 2018, 2017, 18. Like Gabe was the reason I said yes to a lot. And even not a lot that not just a lot that I did, but a lot that I implored myself to grow into. Um, I'll give y'all another example to make it relative. My man Bazzi, B4, a great coach, a great coach and mentor to the youth. I will forever implore Bazzi to speak his heart upon these youngins because out of everybody I've been around, everybody I know, he has that. He has that thing. He is a great coach. My man Josh, coaching at Kilgore, he opened my mind without talking to me about it. These two have opened my mind to many different ways of thinking and appreciation for a coaching environment. I don't want to be a coach, but I want to coach these kids through life through in other ways. And a lot of what I have to change to do that effectively comes from how I communicate with certain groups of people and practicing and learning that and really teaching. And I would have never said that that was important to me if I had never seen the impact that these two make. I've had great coaches. I ran into a coach yesterday or 2 days ago on date night with my wife, Coach Reinberg. Coach Reinberg was a solid freaking coach, man. Like he was a solid cat. And I was super I even told my wife, like, I was like, man, And it really, like, seeing him actually took me from a bad place where I was, seeing him that night out at dinner, still, I'm still so messed up from losing my grandmother. I just haven't been myself, man. And it's not even that I haven't been myself, but I've just been beat up, man. I'm just fucking feeling beat up right now. In feeling that, it's really hard for me to continue speaking life into people right now. And in seeing Coach Reinberg at dinner, it just brought back all of the coaches that ever spoke life into me. And I like to think that most of my coaches knew I was off the wall a little bit. I was kind of crazy here and there and whatnot, but like I like to believe that my coaches had faith that I was set out to do great things. And so every run in I have with a coach that I did have a great relationship with, it brings me through this thought pattern of like, man, you know how many of us are so less fortunate, so much less fortunate than I am? How many of us don't have help? How many of us really lose our minds in the process of trying to find who we are because we dedicated so much of us to a sport, a game, whatever it's going to be? I definitely have parts of me that got lost to that, but I've given up on that part of me. The part that thinks I should have made it to the league, and that's part of the reason I feel how I feel. I'm off that now. But coaches though, the coaches who really poured into you and who poured into me, every day that goes by, the more that stuff means to me because it's a really heavy weight to pour into people who you ultimately are not really going to get anything from. You're doing it together and you're helping them grow through times where you have a lot on the line that they have no idea about. And I think that's one thing athletes always take for granted is we don't understand the lives that the coaches live, but that there's a reason for that separation. But I think that it's that there's a proper balance that most organizations don't have. I have quite a few coaches who made a really strong impact on my life, and when I see them, I just wonder, you know, I just wonder. what it's gonna take for me to get to the point where this weight on my shoulders doesn't feel so heavy. And I can only imagine the weight that's on theirs. Anyway, so being someone's yes, a lot of these coaches, the coaches I have in mind that were great coaches, they were the yes for me and many other kids, man. Impact coaches make it crazy, and they are the yes for someone wanting to be a better person a lot more often than not. And I think we need to grow in the appreciation of being, of having the opportunity to be someone's yes, to be someone's reason for continuing down a path of greatness, of the pursuit of greatness, the pursuit of peace and prosperity. The greatest achievement I can have in this life, which is why I have a problem financially at times because it's hard to find the balance. The greatest achievement I can have is somebody saying, Colin helped me through it. That's it. There is no started a business, this, that. But yeah, I have a goal of I want to employ 1,000 people. That's strictly because I want to impact 1,000 people. I've given up on the goal because it's not, the 1,000 isn't even like the impact. 1,000. That's how you're gonna limit that. You're gonna limit the impact to 1,000 because you're thinking as a businessman. That's not how you're meant to think. That's not you. That's not your role. That's not your direction. So correction is realizing that what I'm doing for money is not what I need to be doing or how I need to focus my impact. And then you got to find out, you got to confront the issue of knowing that both matter and both must be done. How am I going to do it though? Then who's the yes for that? Different mentors, different friends to give advice, different business partners. I've shed a tear, I think, on almost every episode thus far. And I mean, I don't know. I don't know if that helps somebody else freaking be okay with. Dude, I cry way more, way more than you would ever imagine. Right now in my life, I break down probably at least if I'm not crying, I have a moment of where I'm I'm breaking down probably once a day. Tears flow regularly, but once a day I have a moment where I'm really wondering what's going on, man. Pura vida. Costa Rica, one of the greetings that they use is pura vida. Pure life, good life, life is good. And that's how they greet each other. I want how I feel every day to be on that. Pura vida. Pura vida. How you feeling today? Life is freaking pure. Whether I'm going through something or not, man. Life is great. Show up as who you are. Do what you're supposed to do. Be who you're supposed to be. Teach what you're supposed to teach. Learn what you're supposed to learn. Be open minded, but be firm. Stand on business, but be loving. Be merciful. Be graceful, but be very, very firm in becoming what you know you're supposed to be. And guess what? Whenever you think about what am I supposed to be, your brain is immediately going to tell you, oh, maybe not. You know why? Because it's frightening taking on the large task of becoming who I'm to become, who I already am, if I just do what I'm supposed to do. I love y'all. I love y'all a lot, man. Government contracting is going crazy right now because of Trump. There's a lot going on right now. I'm gonna just end it with that. Love y'all, man. Hopefully, I'm your yes to getting into government contracts. That's what I would like to be. Bye.